Hey, what's happening, guys? So, brand new episode of A Life of a Bowhunter. So, Dan Pickar recorded this with Dylan Dawson while I was gone on my odd-ad sheep hunt. And so they recorded this in the office. Dylan Dawson is awesome, man. He's like consistently successful, great critters. He's been working with him and Onyx for years. So just a great guy, great hunter. You guys will really enjoy today's conversation. We'll get right into it. Just want to thank a couple sponsors. So I want to thank Zamberlan. Zamberlan builds the absolute best boots and shoes. I've been so impressed by their quality of craftsmanship, also their quality of materials. Zamberlan just doesn't cut any corners. They're building the absolute best boots and shoes they can. And so you can save 15% on your order. Go to ZamberlanUSA/Eastmans. The Guide Max GTR RR is 15% off. You can also use the promo code Eastmans15 to save 15% off. So yeah, just great boots and shoes. The Guide Max is a great boot, Italian leather, quality built, full-size boot, Vibram sole. I tend to prefer the lower cut boots or the shoes, so they have both the low cut boot and the shoes in the Salate. It's just an absolute great shoe. You can check that out. I also like a bunch of their different models on there, so they have different models for all your personal preference. Just some great performing boots and shoes. They waterproof test each Gore-Tex bootie in them to make sure they're going to keep waterproof. Again, that Vibram sole just really grips on all different terrains, and that's whether it's wet, dry, rock, loose, tends to hold really good. So just couldn't be more impressed with Zamberlan and their boots and shoes they're performing. Go check them out at ZamberlanUSA.com. I also want to thank On Glass. So Dan and I have been using On Glass for the last year. Just so impressed by their system. So use On Glass for spotting scope, for taking digiscoping. They'll also connect to binoculars. I also use a truck attachment for my truck that works great. So yeah, just a great model. It's super simple. Everything lines up the minute you put on it. Get great recordings. And so we've been using these all year. All the phone scope you've seen from me on social media or even on some of the videos have all came from this On Glass system. So thanks to On Glass with their support of the podcast. Make sure to check out everything we're doing at Eastmans. We have the magazines. We have the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to that. We've got a brand new season coming out, Eastmans Hunting TV on YouTube. You can check out the Beyond the Grid, and you can search back to some of our old episodes. Dan Picard's got a bunch of great ones on there. I've got a bunch of great ones on there, and then a bunch of new ones coming out. So make sure to check that out. Eastmans TagHub, our internet research tool. We have the Deer Collective, Elk Collective, and also our other podcasts. Check out my other podcasts I do, Eastman's Elevated, and Ike does Eastman's Hunting Journals, Predator Pros, Wingman. We have a bunch on there, so make sure to go check those out. With that, let's get into this podcast. I will be missing from today's podcast. It's Dan Pickar, Dylan Dawson. They advertised it as an Eastman's Elevated, but we're putting it out on Life of a Bowhunter, so hopefully that doesn't confuse you. But it's a great recording, great podcast. Let's get into it right now, Life of a Bowhunter.
All right, guys, Dan Pickar here. I'm a guest host from Life of the Bowhunter podcast, but I'm filling in for the legendary Brian Barney. And I'm excited about today's discussion because not only is it a little bit impromptu, but Dylan Dawson from Onyx. And Dylan and I both grew up in Montana, and we were kind of cut from the same cloth. I can just tell. And we've talked before, and we've done this kind of format before, but these are the conversations that I really like to have with guys. And specifically, when we were talking a little bit before the show of, growing up in kind of small town Montana, and our world was pretty small. And then, as time goes by and we find ourselves doing kind of these off the cusp, outside the Western hunting box type of hunts. Mm-hmm. And kind of the adventure that goes along with that. So thanks for coming down. And
No, thanks for being here and standing in. I think you said Brian was off doing some cool hunt.
Yeah, he's on Aoudad.
Aoudad, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the obscure ones that I've been on and have another one coming up. But yeah, we were just down looking at, I think, your access deer from Maui, and just got back like 4 or 5 months ago. Went to Maui and shot an access deer, and yeah, just talking through some of those, and then yeah, it's pretty crazy. You grow up and what you know is what you know. And like you said, you hit it on the head. Like, my world was super small when it came to hunting. And honestly, just everything, right? If you're up in a small town in eastern Montana, you don't get out a whole lot. We crossed the North Dakota border a few times here or there, went and did a few things. But especially in the hunting world, I grew up hunting mule deer, whitetail when there was one big enough to distract me from the mule deer, antelope, and then later on elk. But that was just kind of it, right? And the Aoudad hunts and the axis hunts, and I've got a couple other big hunts coming up this year. And I know you've gone on a ton of them. I've, followed along on podcasts or videos or whatnot, and I've known you for 10 years or so?
Easily, yeah.
I've been at Onyx for a little over 10 years, so probably about then. And just some of the cool things that you've done, and I'm just starting to dabble in those, right? Like, I've done a couple of them. And it's always really cool to learn a new species. And one of the big things that I've realized is super cool is when I'm on my way to a hunt and I've never seen that species. And it's happened quite a bit for me lately. And it's going to happen more this year. And it's like, I've never even seen one of these things. I've never seen an axis deer ever outside of pictures and video. And now I'm going to go hunt for that species and learn about them and like what you can get away with and what you can't. And there's just so much to it. And I think about the time that I leave the hunts is when I maybe am starting to barely figure it out. Yeah. And it just kind of, and two, like, without, I'm kind of over my skis in this a little bit, but a lot of these things I kind of thought would be like a once in a lifetime. Like, once I shoot an axis deer, once I go do this hunt or whatnot, like, then I'll have done it. And then I leave that hunt and I'm like, when can I go back and do that again? Because that was awesome. And the more that you learn, the more that you're like, all right, now I'm feeling a little bit more confident, and when can we do it again?
Exactly. And that's the beauty of adventure hunting.
Yep.
And for me, I mean, I know it is the same with you, and with anybody that enjoys the outdoors, that is a wildlife lover, and like you're saying, with anticipating, what's this animal going to look like how's it going to move? And yeah, you can watch videos and get an understanding of what it's going to be like, but there's nothing like that firsthand real world experience of hunting that species. And adventure hunting it's so different than core hunting.
Yeah.
Like what you described growing up. And that's the draw to me too. And I was talking to my brother about this, and there's a percentage of people in life that, and I'm one of them, that has like an obsessive personality. And what I mean by that is, like, once I get onto something, like I get hyper focused, I'm really into it, I'm gonna go all in, like all the way. There's no like dabbling in my life. And so I choose a few things that I'm really interested in, and I go all in and make it a lifestyle. And I think that's, for me, that's the most enriching, lifestyle that I could ever envision growing up and in my adult life. And adventure hunting is one of them.
Yep.
It just really is.
I see the bug, and it starts, like, there's a hunting progression. We've all kind of seen it and talked about it, and everybody's progression is a little bit different. But, for me anyways, again, growing up in deer, antelope, back then in eastern Montana, you could get an antelope tag every year. And so, some things are changing there, although I have had 3 years in a row now, so that's been nice. But, it starts with, like, I might want to hunt elk in Wyoming someday, right? Like, just a little, like, all right, I'm going to start applying for points in Wyoming, which I actually just cashed those in this year and shot my first Wyoming bull this past season, which was great. But, like, it starts with one thing, like, well, maybe someday I'll want to go to hunt deer in Colorado. And then it just, like, for me anyways, it just, like, slowly expanded. And I'm like, well, all right, like, these are cool, elk and deer, like, that's kind of my core. I'll always love it. Maybe I'm going to go, figure out what Columbian blacktail's like in Oregon, right? Like, that's something new. I've never seen a Columbian blacktail. I don't know how to hunt them. I've heard it's hard. A big challenge. And so, yeah, it just kind of started small of like, well, maybe I know mule deer, I know elk, I know antelope. Like, where else can I go explore a new country, a new state, a new opportunity, and go hunt those species? To like, all right, well, this one's a little bit unknown territory. Let's go try that. That was super fun. Like, what about Sitka blacktail on Kodiak? Like, there's an opportunity there. That's super fun. You know, like where can I go on the most hunts with new species, new places, new adventure opportunity without also breaking the bank, right? Because at the end of the day, I think we all want to hunt sheep. I want to hunt sheep. I think in another life, if my wallet allowed me to hunt sheep, I'd be, quote, a sheep hunter. But it's just not realistic. And it could be, like, if you want that bad enough, if I want that bad enough, I can make that happen. I could figure out a way to make it happen. But I kind of came to the realization, too, with that. It's like, well, I could, but at what cost? I'm probably not going to be going to Texas to hunt aoudad. I'm probably not going to be going and hunting axis deer in Maui. I'm probably not going to be going to Mexico and hunting Coues deer. These, like, smaller, more affordable, obtainable hunts, I can do many of those. I don't know how many, a lot, for one Dall sheep hunt or something. So for me, it was kind of that realization too of like, well, do I want like the one pinnacle hunt that I work for 10 years to maybe make happen? And who knows, we've all been on those hunts where it's a good tag or it's supposed to be this amazing opportunity, and you get there and it's like the weather's bad. What do you do? I waited 10 years and, you know, my life savings to go on this hunt, and now the weather's bad, and that's not the guide's fault. That's nobody's fault. It's a hunt. Or I could go to New Zealand and experience that country and like just that, a new species and these things. So yeah, I've chosen to do the latter and go on more cool hunts, and who knows, maybe someday I'll find myself sheep hunting. But
that's right.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of it is, you know, we're blue collar guys working, have families, right? And so it's not like we have an unlimited budget for what we can do. Mm-hmm. And I have this discussion all the time. You know, Dan, how come you haven't gone sheep hunting? How come you haven't gone and killed a Dall sheep? Number one, I should have done it about 10 years ago when sheep hunts were about 14 grand.
Yeah.
If I were going to, you know, buy a hunt now, they're 40 some for a Dall. And the other ones are 60 plus. I think a stone is like 90 now.
I've heard over six figures multiple times. And yeah. Crazy.
So it's getting crazy. It's like, golly, I can go hunt a lot of red deer on public land in New Zealand for 90 grand, a lifetime and then some of hunting.
Yep.
And I say I'm a sheep guy and I say I'm not. And what I mean by that is if I have an opportunity to go on a sheep hunt, heck yeah.
Sign me up.
I'm going, absolutely.
If they have an extra seat, let me know.
Exactly. I've filmed them. I've hunted with buddies that have drawn tags. I'm absolutely going. Do I obsess about a Grand Slam or, you know, just going, you know, on one of them alone? Not really. And one of the things that I do say too says, I don't know about you, but North American sheep, once you've been on a Marco Polo hunt in Tajikistan, like if I'm going to spend $45,000 and go sheep hunting, I'm going to Tajikistan and going to hunt an impressive sheep.
Yeah.
We're talking a ram that has the body size of a spike bull elk.
No kidding.
With 60-inch horns.
Yeah.
And so when you can do something like that, like I would do that before I would pay for a North American sheep. Mm-hmm. I mean, that probably sounds crazy to a lot of guys from North America.
Yeah.
But for bang for your buck, for the impressiveness of that animal,
yeah,
I can't see it any other way.
Yeah. And I've never hunted sheep, so I can't really speak with confidence in saying this, but the allure for me, without having been on a sheep hunter filmed one like you, or experienced it without being behind the bow or the gun, is like where they live and the adventure of that hunt. And one of the things I have coming up this year is New Zealand tahr. And I kind of got turned on to that hunt, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago or something, when the sheep dream was kind of slowly dying. It was like 20,000. Next time you go to sheep show, it's 30,000. Next time you go to sheep show, it's like, okay, even if I figured out a way to financially do this, and now I've got young kids, like this is just, it'd be reckless and selfish, I feel. And so anyways, I talked to quite a few different folks that have hunted Dall sheep, like in the Brooks Range, and then also went to New Zealand and hunted tahr. And they're like, the hunt itself isn't that much different. Like, obviously different terrain. Like, it's not like it's the exact same country. But the training you have to do to prepare for the hunt and the climbs and the epicness of the views and where you're camped and just like how you access the country, a lot of that's very similar. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, tahr are a pretty cool looking animal. Like, I don't know much about them, but they look cool. And so I started watching some New Zealand hunts and was like, yeah, that looks like most of my allures of wanting to do a Dall sheep. Like, I found the similarities in watching like tahr videos. I was like, well, let's try to figure out a way to do that eventually, because that's a much more obtainable hunt. And, I still wasn't sure when it would happen, how it would happen. And coming up in a few months in May, I'll be going to New Zealand for that adventure. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And talking to guys that know, because if I didn't have those conversations of like, man, this is a dream of mine, but I don't know if it's realistic, like maybe that wouldn't have happened and I wouldn't have known like, hey, this is a pretty similar, obviously much different animals. Like there's a lot of differences, but there's similar aspects to the actual hunting them portion. And so, yeah, it's one that I'm excited for.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't blame you one bit. It's the same type of thing. I mean, how many tahr can you go shoot for $40,000?
A lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of hunting.
I could bring a whole a plane full of buddies to New Zealand.
That's right. And so there's logistics involved, but any of the adventure hunting, there's going to be logistics, and it's a lot. Once you get one under your belt, it becomes a lot easier, and you get a feel for what to do. But coming back from small town Montana, I mean, this is dream big type of stuff.
Huge.
That you would have never imagined yourself doing.
Way bigger than like the ceiling. Way bigger than the dreams were at the time, right?
Yeah.
Again, the dreams at the time were like, maybe I'll hunt elk in Wyoming. Like that was like a big thing. Or like I'll hunt mule deer in another state. I heard Colorado's got big deer, whatever, right? Like that was the dream. And then you kind of do a couple of those things, and then the dreams just get a little bigger. And yeah, it's like, how big do you want to go with it? And the one thing I've always kind of went back to with a lot of things in life too is just like, how bad do you want it?
Yep.
Like, I don't care if it's killing your first bull with a bow or you want to go on these adventures. Well, like, how bad? Because if you want to, kind of, like, you're probably not going to figure it out. Or you might get lucky and, kill a few bulls or whatever. But, like, if you want it bad enough, like, you will figure it out. You'll do what it takes to figure out how to be successful. And I say that in terms of, hunting, right? But I think that's true in life. It's like, for me, I liked snowmobiling for a while, right? But, like, how bad did I want to be good at snowmobiling? Not that bad. I didn't really care. So I sold my snowmobile, and I'm prioritizing in things I actually care about enough to, like, make sacrifices or do the things I need to do to see that happen. So, yeah, it's just like, how bad do you want to do that thing?
Exactly. And I think that's important too, not only as being an example for your kids, but you can't do everything in life, but the things you choose to do, go all in. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a good example for our families, for kids. And the last thing I see kids these days that like dabbling in different sports and never really get into anything, and they're kind of just I'm here.
Yep.
And it's like, oh man, like you're missing the spice of life, you know? And I get that, not everybody is wired, like we are in that regard. But if anything out of this podcast today, because I've thought about this a lot, is don't be afraid to dream big. Just because you came from a small town and, you didn't do much as a kid, maybe you didn't see much. I mean, a big thing for me as a kid, a big vacation was going to see Mount Rushmore. That's as big as my world got, a road trip. And, as I got older and, taking my first commercial flight somewhere, and it's like this light bulb went off of like, man, there's so many cool things in this world for us to go out there and experience. And so don't get stuck home thinking that it's unattainable.
Yeah.
Just because the world's so big or logistically it's scary. And because I've been there
can
too.
Be.
It is. Dude, my first trip to New Zealand, my first international hunt, I hopped on a plane. I flew to New Zealand. I drove 5 hours on the left side of the road with a steering wheel on the wrong side of a vehicle. Got to a trailhead, hiked in for 3 hours, set up my tent in the rain. I was laying there that night as it was pouring. And I don't think I've ever felt so isolated and so far from home in my entire life. And, thinking, what did I get myself into? And that right there, and that experience in those next 5 days of living in the jungle and just like soaking it all in, like I'm just the trees and the rain and the red stags roaring, and it's public land hunting. It's not like they were everywhere. We were working for it, but I had the foundation of elk hunting from here back at home and a little bit of knowledge of the species over there, the red deer, to be successful. The first red deer I ever killed was the next morning I woke up.
That's awesome.
And I heard a roar down below me, but I knew my hind call. So I was like hind calling, and it turns out these red deer were working their way up the mountain. And I called this spike red deer 6 yards from the door of my tent, and I shot it frontal at 6 yards from the door of my tent. That was my welcome to New Zealand that morning.
That's amazing.
Epic.
Yeah.
Epic. And so those are the experiences. But I feel like from there, I really grew as a person. I got outside my comfort zone. I was able to look outside the box, get outside your box, and really challenge yourself mentally, of course, physically, and getting all those logistics put together. It's probably I know it's probably one of the best things that I've ever done for myself was leaping into this adventure, leaping into the unknown, with a little bit of homework, but still, like I talk to, I think like everyday, like average people would hear what I just told you and be like, that's pretty risky and that's a little bit crazy for flying halfway around the world and just kind of winging it.
Yeah, but it worked out, and you probably came back a better person, husband, whatever, from that trip, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And for me too, like the thing with these adventure hunts that I've realized is I would never find myself in a lot of these places if it weren't for hunting, right? If I wasn't passionate about hunting, I would be into traveling. I'm just not. Like if I'm going somewhere, I was just telling you, my wife and I finally went on our honeymoon after 5 years of marriage. We went to Maui, and I'm like, well, I'm going to hunt access deer. Like, I'm not going to go to Maui and not hunt, right? Like, and thankfully I've got a very fortunate, understanding wife, and she hunts a little bit as well. So, like, we went and had a great experience. But, like, I was, this past January, I went to Mexico for coos deer. First time seeing a coos deer. Had no idea how to hunt them or anything. And, yeah, I found myself in Sonora, Mexico on this ranch down there, and like, getting to experience like the culture and like actual Mexico. I went to Cancun and Cabo as a kid or a teen, right? Like that's not really Mexico. Like it is, but it's just different than going to a random place next to a small town in Sonora, Mexico, and hunting coos deer and meeting new people and like dealing with the language barrier. And fortunately, I downloaded the Google Translate app on my way across the border. This might be helpful. It was incredibly helpful. And dealing with the language barrier and just like the food difference and like actual being in Sonora. And it kind of dawned on me after that hunt. I was like, I would never be here. Like I would never be right here on this ranch in Sonora, Mexico, if it weren't for hunting, right?
Seeing
like,
real Mexico. Yeah.
Exactly. And so as much as I love the hunting portion of it, like as I get a little bit older and like wiser and understanding of what life is maybe about, like those type of realizations and things is like, I've seen Mexico. You know, we've gone through places that I would never drive through if I wasn't going to go try and find an 80, 90 pound little white-tailed deer.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's the beauty of it. And like I told my wife too, I was like, and well before we ever got married, that if I'm going to travel somewhere, I don't have any interest in going to a foreign country if there's not hunting. Yep. And it's basically kind of what you were alluding to. But when I picture like learning about a foreign country and learning about a culture, it's not going to some city and going to some tourist site and being toured around by a tour guide, giving you the spiel of what happened. And don't get me wrong, I still want to go to Normandy. I still want to go to France. I want to see the World War II stuff. I would go to some of those European countries and see the historical aspect. Would like to see some castles. But if I can sneak in a roe deer hunt, I'm going to figure out a way to do it if I'm going over there.
It makes it a little bit more, you're going to do that trip sooner. That's one thing I've noticed with me, and maybe not to speak for you, but I found like if I find a hunt that I want to do, it's like I'm going to figure out a way to do that trip sooner. And you're still going to get to experience all the things that you just said. It's just like the driving force for me anyways is like the hunt portion of the trip, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so like, for example, I was looking at going to Spain. I was talking to an outfitter over there and talking to some buddies, and like I'm still like the type of guy, I'm not like the type of person that's going to buy a hunt with an outfitter and just go hunting. Like I would much rather like find a landowner that would allow me to trespass for a fee and then just go live out there and kind of do it myself. That's kind of my style. And in Spain, it turns out that's very, very difficult to do. And like the ibex over there are very regulated. And then there's chamois, and then there's mouflon, which are mainly high fence hunting. But roe deer and chamois is what else you can do. And I'm pricing it out, and I'm looking at $11,000 to hunt, go over there and hunt a couple little tiny animals.
Yeah.
And you're like, golly, I can go to Africa and shoot a lot of animals for $10,000.
Yep.
And so that's all. I mean, Spain's on my list, don't get me wrong, but the incentive too of, best value for the dollar. And I think that's probably, I mean, most people probably just call me a cheap ass or something, but I really enjoy talking and essentially swapping hunts with other guys from around the world. For example, guys from New Zealand or Australia, they want to come over here and go elk hunting, maybe go in the wilderness in Wyoming. I can take them in return. I go over there and be a part of their world, of their hunt, their bow hunting for fallow deer and red deer. And that's truly what I really enjoy. And I'm not knocking guided hunts at all. But when somebody is paid to be in your company, I don't like that as much as if two buddies are hunting together in his world and in my world. Yeah. I think there's just a more allure to me.
And it's just kind of a more genuine relationship and time spent together, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I've been around and I've been around some outfits and operations and guides and stuff. And like, I would say almost everybody, I can't think of somebody that wasn't genuine, and you could just feel it, right? Like, it's like, hey, yes, there's a money exchange here, but also like this is a salt of the earth person, and they truly care and are invested and want me to have the best time. And we're doing it together, right? But also, you just never know, especially if you're going around the world and paying for it, right? Like, is this going to be like Dan, you shot your 2 animals on day 2, so, kick you out the door. The next client comes in. It's like, no, I want to, like, experience this. Even if I go film my tag, I want to go out the next day and, like, still go look for animals and see what this place has to offer, right? And you just don't really know some of those things when you do it that way.
And I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful or knocking guided hunts like that, because I'm a hunting guide too, right? But I know, because over the years talking to clients, that's how it can be. Like there's so many hunters out there that have had bad experiences with outfitted hunting, and you wouldn't believe. And it shocked me when I first got into the guiding world. I got in there and started hunting and taking clients, and I thought I was going to be around some of the best guides that I've ever seen, and the best clients. But for the most part, where I was guiding, nobody really knew what they were doing. right? I mean, and you got to learn somehow. And clients were just average guys wanting an adventure to go kill an elk, and you learn a lot. Your eyes just really get opened once you dive into the industry, and that's somebody that I didn't want to be either.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be somebody or work for an outfitter that I ended up just being a tour guide because there's no animals to hunt.
And you know that as a guide, but you still have to wake the client up and put on a show.
And that's just not cool.
Yeah.
And it's not anything that I ever wanted to be interested in or be a part of, because it just feels like a scam. But that type of stuff happens all the time. And once again, you said it too. You can't rely on weather to provide you a good hunt. You never know what's going to happen with conditions. And so, yeah, you can be screwed on an outfitted, a guided hunt because of weather conditions, because of other pressure, because of animals, predators. And so still, hunting is hunting, but still, as a guide, I'm going to do everything in my power to get this hunter, get this client on an animal.
Yeah.
And so that's where that all ties into, is I don't want to go halfway around the world and get the runaround, and so that's why you do your homework and you go to the Hunt Expo and you talk to outfitters and you get references. And I mean, that's the biggest hurdle, right? Americans hunting overseas, especially big high dollar hunts, is getting to know outfitters, getting quality references, that reputation, that's the word I was looking for, the reputation that you feel comfortable spending 40, 50, 60 grand on the other side of the world for.
Yeah. And for me anyways, anytime I can talk to somebody who's done the hunt, whether it's like a DIY public land, whatever, you name the state or country or wherever, like that's more valuable to talk to somebody who's actually done it too, to get like, hey, here's kind of what the hunt is, right? Like some hunts you gotta hike 10 miles before you start hunting. Some hunts you drive until you see the animal you want to shoot, and then you get out and go from there, right? And like, what's your goal? And having those conversations with folks that have done it, right? That's nice. And everybody's in this industry, community, hunting community, whatever you want to call it, like people are willing to share. Like, I'm not going to give you my honey hole in Montana, but if I hunted a new place in Nevada that I've never been to, probably will never be to again, and somebody draws that tag and asks me some questions, like, I'm going to help them. Like, and I'm going to follow up and be like, you better send me a picture when you find that big bull, because like I'm kind of living through this hunt a little bit with you, and it's cool that the person that you're able to help gets to go experience the same thing you did, maybe camp on the same ridge or go to the same place in Spain and stay at the same outfit or something, right?
Yep.
And so, it's an interesting world, and I don't even want to say industry because that makes it sound like the professional side of hunting industry, right?
Yeah.
But like the hunting community as a whole, it's interesting because we're all very secretive, and like if you have your honey holes, and especially public land, and there's areas in Montana that it would take I don't know how much money for me to give up a waypoint, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I want to see other people be successful, but it's kind of competitive in the areas where you have a tag. But yeah, the more adventure type hunts, it's like, ask people, have conversations, go to shows. Like, we're going to be at Western Hunt Expo here soon. Sheep show's coming up. Like, drive or fly down to one of those shows, have those conversations with people. Like, you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find it helps too, that if you have something to offer, like if you're looking, I mean, how do you approach that, right? I'm not going to just go up to Dylan and be like, hey, I want you to take me hunting to your, or I have information like what you alluded to. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do that. So there's like an etiquette, right? An hunter etiquette. But if you have something to offer back and you're talking about, adventure hunting or whatever, come hunt out at my farm for whitetails in Iowa or, something, I think you're going to be able to accelerate the whole process of diving into whether it's international hunting or hunting out west.
Yep.
If you have something to offer back. But if you're just out there trying to leech spots or, something like that, that's probably not going to go too well for you. But yeah, no, I'm the same way when it comes to once in a lifetime tags or, any of the the big species, the moose, sheep, goat, whether it's a very limited elk tag or something that I'm probably not ever going to hunt again. Yeah, I'm going to help guys out. Yeah. And absolutely. But that's just the community, right?
Yeah.
And, especially when it comes to international stuff. And yeah, if guys want to go to New Zealand, hit me up. I'll give you some pointers.
I'll probably be asking you some questions too.
Yeah.
And I'm going with a group that's gone before. So like, that's a huge help, right? Actually, just the other day, I got a text with like, here's what we need to start doing for rifle permits, and here's the deal. And we're waiting on to see if we can, chain the rifles to this rafter. Like, you probably know these things. I don't. Like, it sounds crazy. And what you can do and what you can't do, and so much stuff that I like is always in the back of my mind that I have to learn. Like, right after this trip down to see you guys, like, I'm going to go home and figure that out. And that's part of it. It can be sometimes a little bit tedious or frustrating or cumbersome, but it's also kind of part of the whole thing, right? Like, you can't really just go do all the fun, good stuff without a little bit of work involved. And again, it's kind of back to how bad do you want it?
Yep.
Like, if you want it bad enough, you'll figure out how to do rifle permits to where they don't seize your gun.
Right.
And, even going to Mexico, we drove across the border last year, and rifle permits there and stuff like that was an interesting deal. It all went super smooth and everything was great. But, like, we have a convoy of vehicles crossing into Mexico, and we all have very high dollar, expensive, fancy rifles. Yeah. And it's like, okay, you guys go over here, you guys go over here, here's your paperwork. And then you give them the paperwork, they're like, no, this paperwork. And it's like, let me dig through my vanilla envelope of paperwork. And it's like, yeah, that one. It's like, okay, we're good to go. But, like, it's just a lot of uneasiness or just new things that you have to learn, right?
Yeah. And especially places like that, Mexico, it can be sketchy. I mean, when I was down there in 2016, headed back, we did the same thing, drove down and then drove back. We were driving back and we were following like a Toyota Tacoma with like Hajis in the back with AK-47s, like riding the pickup bed. Like, are we in Iraq or something?
Yeah.
Like,
kind of felt like it at a couple spots. Yeah.
Like, what is this place? But, going with the outfitters there that they know the process, and we're with like the Mexican outfitter, like, we didn't have any issues or anything.
Yeah.
But like that place,
you hear some stories.
Yeah.
I heard stories, and we didn't really hear the stories until we got down there, right? We're already in nowhere, Mexico, and then these stories start coming out. It's like, all right, okay, like, this is the real deal. Like, kind of, I don't know. It's a different element, right? Like,
definitely.
Wyoming, you guys have grizzly bears. I learned that this year. Saw 9 grizzlies in 5 days on an elk hunt, so that was interesting. But yeah, everywhere you go, it's just something new, right? Like, I'm going to New Mexico for an aoudad hunt, and I'm like, am I just gonna ground sleep, or like, do they have scorpions? I don't know. Like, that might be like a crazy question to ask, right? But like, are there like, what do I need to be concerned about there? Do I need to take like a floorless shelter or not?
Yep.
Like, are there snakes this time of year down there? Like, just, I have no idea. And I think it can be looked at again as like, man, I got to figure all this stuff out, or like, I get to figure this out because I'm going to go hunt in this new place, and that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You just kind of wing it. I mean, a lot of it's, you're kind of winging it as you go. And, going back to New Zealand, like you said, with the gun permits, I mean, that just changed, I think, a year and a half ago, after that Aussie guy came down to Christchurch and shot up that mosque. And so now it's like very difficult for a non-resident international person to get a rifle into New Zealand. It's like, you better be doing it right now, because it's a 2 to 3 month process.
Yeah.
And, some other things too, like my buddy Sam Davis, he came down with me last year, and he had some freeze-dried pork, and they took that from him too. Mm-hmm. And because, they don't allow pork in there. And then another thing too is like any used camping equipment or used boots, they'll ask you about them and ask if you've cleaned them, because if there's like any sort of foreign dirt on your footwear or on your tent or whatever that you bring into New Zealand, like, I don't know if they'll confiscate it from you, but they'll like quarantine it and like clean it.
Interesting.
Before you can enter the country.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like I try to bring a new pair of boots or like new equipment when I go in there, or I've brought you stuff too. Clean them very thoroughly with like dish soap and a brush and like really clean your stuff. And then when you're going through customs, like verbally, there we go, verbally acknowledge that, like, yeah, I made sure I cleaned my boots and, shoes. They asked me if my broadheads have ever been used. I'm like, no,
like
these
gone
are
through
all,
an animal or something.
yeah, they're all brand new broadheads.
Yep. I like shooting brand new broadheads. That's a whole other topic, right? But a lot of people reuse broadheads and sharpen. I'm like, great. If I shoot an arrow at an animal, it has done its purpose, and I'm fine hanging that thing in my shed or wherever it needs to go. Because, like, yeah, completely off topic there, but
yeah. And so there's all these like little fine things. And then when I flew from New Zealand to Australia, I almost missed my flight because, well, not only did I drop the ball on my visa to get into Australia, I actually had to fill out paperwork to get into Australia, which I overlooked. But like the head of their TSA in Auckland wasn't going to allow me to travel with my arrows in the same case as my bow, pertaining to the whole, your ammo can't be in the same case, the same bag as your firearm. And I didn't have a big enough bag to fit my arrows, like a long enough one that was like straight. I had like a duffel. And
was this going to the hunt or coming back?
This is going from after, 12 days in New Zealand and then flying over to Australia for a week, and then I was headed home.
Okay, so you were going to do some hunting there.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder than to like, well, I guess I'll throw these in the garbage and burn,
I needed these arrows, yeah.
Like you need them.
Yeah. And so what I told the guy, like he had me in the back and he was looking through all my stuff, and I was like, okay, here's the dangerous part. And it had this plastic box of broadheads. How about I just put that in my duffel bag and that'll be separate from the arrows? Because look at the arrow, it's just a carbon pole, right? And he's like,
it's not sharp.
Yeah, there's nothing sharp, and it's in my checked bag. This is not carry-on luggage. He's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But like, it just goes to show you, like, not everybody understands the hunting culture. I mean, and in New Zealand's a hunting culture.
Yeah.
By you've never been, right, to the country.
No.
It's like going anywhere out west or anywhere in America. Like, there's sporting goods stores and there's hunting equipment, and people talk about, the roar and Easter weekend. That's when like everybody has time off to go out chasing red stags. Is Easter weekend. You get the most hunters out, and it's a hunting culture. It's awesome. But still, I mean, there's a lot of immigration there. There's a lot of Dot Indians there, and a lot of them, they don't understand the hunting. And this guy that happened to be in the head of TSA was, he had, I mean, clearly you could see he had no concept of how dangerous or not that a bow was and broadheads were. And that is the beauty about traveling around the world with a bow, is most countries don't care about a bow.
It's just a bow.
Yeah. And so until some idiot starts shooting people in a mosque or whatever with a bow, then world travel with a bow will be
easier.
pretty seamless.
I mean, I've even heard, I'm going to rifle hunt in New Zealand, and I've even heard, like, I've got a rifle that has a foldable stock, right? Like, I've heard little tips from folks like, just don't take that. It looks a little goofy.
Yeah.
Looks abnormal, right? Like, it's the same thing, just the stock folds, and it looks a little modernized, right? But it kind of looks scary compared to the average wood stock rifle. It can be concealed
more.
Yeah.
What they think.
So, I've even heard little tips like that. It's like, there's nothing illegal about taking that, but if you have another option that's just as good, I probably wouldn't take that one. Right. It's like, all right, noted, but I would never think that, because to us, we just know it folds and it fits in my backpack a little bit better.
Right.
But to somebody, like you said, in customs, that opens it up and they're like, I checked in some rifles last week and this one looks different and it's scary. I don't know about this. Like, just don't cause any alarm for any reason.
Exactly. And on the flip side of it, which I think this is just hilarious, is suppressors are like standard equipment over there. And like in Africa, like you can just go buy them at the hardware store in Africa.
Yep.
And in New Zealand.
As they should be.
Yeah,
in my
absolutely.
opinion, they're great.
Absolutely, as they should be.
Yeah.
But like in New Zealand, I don't know that I've ever seen a firearm that didn't have a suppressor in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And, that's what I have done in the past, like for my wife going over there and rifle hunting. She rifle hunts more. but just using their firearms over there, so you don't have to
Really?
deal with. And once again, we're hunting the brush for red deer, shooting 40 yards. Just a brush gun is all we're looking for. But if you're going to do any long range stuff or whatever, you probably want to bring your own firearm.
Yeah.
But yeah, every single one of them, everybody has a suppressor. It's standard equipment. But then you get into this, the United States, and I think it's because of Hollywood.
Yeah.
That suppressors are so scary.
Silencers, right?
Yeah, right. Silencers.
I don't know. I've shot a few suppressors that, Where'd that come from? No, it is funny. And those are the little things too, right? Like, when I went to Mexico last year, no suppressors. Like I might be going to British Columbia this year, trying to figure out a mountain goat hunt, and no suppressors. So then it's like, all right, I got to take my suppressor off and go find a break and remember to put Ear Pro in, because I grew up without using Ear Pro or suppressors, and
Right.
I don't even want to take a hearing test. Like, I think I'm so far okay. It was like the young adult, and you see a coyote run out of a draw or something while you're deer hunting, and it's like turns into a coyote hunt, and all of a sudden there's no more bullets in your gun, and you've got a big break on the end of it, and it's like can't hear for 2 days to try and shoot a running coyote, or something like that, where I look back now, it's just wild. But anyways, like Mexico, I couldn't take one, so that's just part of the things that you have to know, right?
Yep.
New Zealand, I heard they're easier to get there than they are to get back almost.
Yep. 100%. I don't know about paperwork. You probably have to look into that. Like, you have to bring serial number, if they'll even care about bringing a suppressor.
I think it's more getting it back to make sure, like, you didn't buy this in New Zealand, and then you're bringing other suppressors back in that aren't tax stamped or whatever, right? And I'm speaking out, like, I don't know this. It's just that would be my assumption based on my limited knowledge. I could see there being an issue being like, I don't see a tax stamp for this. You bought it in New Zealand.
Right.
It's like, no, here it is.
Yeah, bring your paperwork for that one for sure. We learned that the hard way going to British Columbia 10 years ago with Brandon Mason, actually. And we were going up to hunt moose, and I had my bow and he had a rifle, and he didn't have the correct form filled out to get his firearm back into the United States. Mm-hmm. And they looked at it when we left and wrote down the serial number, but you have to have a specific form coming back in. And the guy at the border, I remember this like yesterday, he looks at us and he's like, if this comes back and you have any sort of record, you're going to jail today. And like pointed at Brandon because it was his weapon that he claimed. And I don't know if he was just posturing, trying to be, Billy Bad A about the whole situation.
Maybe, but
still, they take it seriously.
Yeah.
When you're bringing stuff back into the United States,
Yep.
Make sure you have your correct form.
Yep. Yeah. No, there's so many things, and again, even as we're talking now, I'm thinking like, okay, I got to figure this out. I should have almost brought a pen and paper for some of the New Zealand stuff, but we'll catch up after if I have questions. And it can be like daunting of like, I'm busy, right? Like I'm busy in everyday life, and I've got young kids, and like now I got to figure this stuff out. I just want to go hunt, right? Like I just want to go to New Zealand and go hunting, or I just want to go to British Columbia and go hunting. And it can seem like the checklist is a little bit tedious, but it's pretty cool that we get to like be forced to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
And it is obtainable. Back to the start of the conversation, just how small your world can be, like mule deer and antelope and the occasional elk, to these hunts that I'm sure there's a lot of people probably listening that have done way more, way bigger, way more adventurous hunts. And then there's a lot of people probably listening that have never done any or hunted outside of their home state. And it is obtainable. You just have to kind of, again, want it bad enough to figure it out. And it's not going to make you go broke.
Right. Yeah, if you're resourceful, it definitely will not make you go broke. And that's the thing, too. You have to have an adventurous side to you. And, I still, like my brother, for example, we're wired completely different. He's an engineer mindset. I'm more of the artistic type of person. But he's gone to Hawaii with me 10 years ago, actually. Mm-hmm. And that's as much as he's ever done for like an out of state, like out of country hunt.
Yep.
Is like Hawaii hunting axis deer with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think he has a desire really. And we grew up hunting. He loves hunting. And, he has his career, and that's fine. And he has his family, and that's fine. And even before he had a family, he still just wasn't as adventurous. Not everybody's going to be wired that way, and that's fine. But once again, going back to if you ever have just the slightest desire to want to do something, you won't regret it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think about at the end of the day too, is in my deathbed, what am I going to regret? And a lot of old timers that I've talked to have told me, you're never going to regret those adventures that you've taken or those hunts that you've gone on. You'll never say, man, I went hunting too much.
Yep.
You never say that. If anything, you're going to say, I didn't hunt enough.
Yeah.
Or I focused too much on work, and now what do I have to show for it?
Yep.
Nothing. And, I think that goes hand in hand with hunting and experiences and family too, though.
Yeah.
And because I think most of all, at the end of your life, you don't want to look back and say, I wish I spent more time with my son.
Totally.
And so, my boy's 5, and so I'm a young dad, right?
Same.
Yeah, and you are too. And so it's another stage in life that you factor in now. And so, yeah, we still want to, chase our dreams and go on these adventure hunts, but probably just not as much as I used to.
Yep.
And what's even more exciting is looking forward to the future and bringing him with me.
Yep.
And then, dreaming about like this kid, I don't want to say he's going to be spoiled, because I'm still going to whoop his butt if he needs it and discipline him when he needs it, and he's better get good grades or we're not going type of thing.
Yep.
But he's going to go to New Zealand with me. He's going to go axis deer hunting with me. He's going to go on all these adventures with me and see the world as a kid, because guess what, man? I know you're the same way. What are some of the best memories that you had as a kid growing up?
Hunting with my dad, honestly. And it was within usually 30 miles of where we lived in eastern Montana. And yeah, everything you just said, I could say what's in my mind, but you pretty much said exactly how I feel, right? I've got a 4-year-old son and a 2-year-old son. They're already asking me. Actually, when I came down here for this trip, I was like, hey guys, I'm going to be gone for a couple days, I'll be back soon though. Be good for mom. Can I still go on that? He calls it a mountain hunt, because we're talking about hunting elk next year. And when he was 1 or 2, we went up and bugled and, went elk hunting, right? And he's like, you're not going on the mountain hunt without me, right? Can I go with you? And I'm like, yeah, buddy, I'm not going on a hunt, unfortunately, but here's what I'm going to do. And so they're already thinking about it, and it's, it changes you, right?
Yeah,
it changes your priorities. And I cannot wait to the day till I can actually go with them. This past hunting season was the first time. So my 4-year-old Thomas, he was with me when I shot an antelope, next to me. We did a mile stalk on these antelope, and I'm like, I got to find these goats pretty quick, because he's probably going to lose interest, He's been palling around and running in front of me and running back to me and stuff, and I'm like, all right, I've done about a mile of walking, and he's been running all over the place in the grass and tripping and falling over and, tripping over barbed wire and stuff. And he got to be basically right next to me as I shot an antelope this fall. And that was just such a cool experience, because when one of my earliest memories, I think I was 4, maybe 5, was an antelope hunt with my dad. And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was one of my earliest memories. Kind of funny story. He still gives me crap about this to this day. He talks about it all the time. There was some antelope up over the hill, and it was a big buck, probably his biggest buck he's ever shot. And he kind of set me down. He's like, hey buddy, stay here. I'm just going to go shoot this antelope. And I knew from a super young age, I took it very seriously. I was quiet. I understood, kind of like you said, my brother was just different. Every time my brother came with us, I was just distraught, not because he was coming with us, because I knew he was going to be loud. And he would be playing with his cars and stuff. And I was just like, Dad, I told you he was going to ruin the hunt, and look at him, he's doing it. So anyways, he left me. He says he was 5 yards from me, but I think he was a little bit further. And so I'm sitting there waiting for him to shoot, and I get a little scared, right? I'm 4 or 5, I don't know. And so this is the part that he gives me crap about to this day, and I start crying. I was scared. He left me. I'm by myself. I'm probably 300 yards from a pickup, but I don't know that or comprehend that. And he comes back over the hill, and I was crying very quietly, because I knew I can't be loud. There's an antelope right there. I gotta cry on the inside like a winner.
Yeah.
And so he came back and he's like, "What's wrong, buddy?" And I still remember I was like, "You left me." And he's like, "I didn't." Like, okay, come with me. And so like he crawled, like had me go up there with him, and he shot this antelope. And but yeah, it was just like such a core memory for me. And then getting to do that with my son this year, it was just super cool. And to tie that kind of back into the adventure hunts, I want to do everything I want to, check off my bucket list now, because I do think once they do become 8, 10, 12, and they can start hunting themselves, I might not have this desire.
Right.
Like, I want to go on this hunt in New Zealand, but is that coming at the cost of spending more time hunting or just being with my family in general? But, instead of me going and doing this cool thing, I'm just going to apply my son for Wyoming antelope, and maybe we'll go on 2 antelope trips this year or something, right? So I'm trying to kind of, I don't feel like there's a clock that I'm racing, but a little bit of like, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, and like, how can I kind of pack those in to where when the time comes for them to be behind the bow or the gun, like, I've kind of done a lot of the things I want to do. There's always going to be more, but I'm satisfied, and now I want to focus on them.
Yep. Yeah, it's just that internal clock awareness, right, of where and forethoughtfulness of where you're going to be in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, like you said, when they're 8. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important too. And there's totally something to that, because I wonder the same thing. And I think I'm always going to love bow hunting, and I'll always enjoy going on these hunts, even if I am by myself at some times. But, for me, like with fishing, like I was so into fishing as a teenager, and a young man in my 20s, and married with kids now. And honestly, I would rather just row the boat and help the kids and watch them catch fish, and watch my wife catch fish. And like, I had way more fun doing that than catching fish. I've caught thousands of fish, and I still enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I'm still good, but I probably the one time a year that I go fishing is me and Guy Eastman go float the river when the river's at this certain height in the summer, and we fly fish.
Yep.
And that's about the only time of year in a year that I fish for myself. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yep.
And I think that's how the hunting's going to be too.
Yeah.
And so, I want to get my adventures in while Dean is young. And man, they go through these phases too, because he just turned 5, but he's this last year when he was 4, like, he's really developed emotionally where he like misses mom and dad, because when he's 2 and 3, like, I'm sure you've seen the same thing. They're kind of like unaware, like if you're gone, like, oh, grandma's here, or, whatever, and they're still in their own little world. But as they emotionally develop around the 4 to 5, like, they start missing it. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't really want to be gone for 10 days.
Yeah.
Like,
I've noticed that a lot. My 2-year-old Caleb, like, again, even leaving for a couple days, come down here, and he's like, bye. I was like, okay, guys, I'm going to be gone, be good, and he's like, bye, Dad. And Thomas is like, wait, no, explain to me, like, what are you doing? Like, you're not going on this mountain hunt without me, right? But like, what's going on? I need to like process this. And Caleb's just like, looks up from whatever he's doing, he's like, see ya. Like,
yeah. So you have the 2 side-by-side comparisons of the emotionally developed older son.
Yep.
And it's just the nature of it. And as Dean gets older, it's going to be the same. Like, I'm not really going to want to go like on an adventure hunt without him.
Yeah.
And the same thing this year, back to the antelope thing, my favorite hunt this year, and I've been on a lot of hunts, was shooting a doe antelope with the 30-30 that I bought from my dad, that he killed his first mule deer buck with when he was a kid. And I bought it from him for $35 because that's what he bought it for. It's a Marlin 336 RC.
You could only buy guns for $35,
right?
Yeah.
And this was in 1978. I think he traded 2 coyote pelts and $35 for this Marlin 336 RC. But I was like, you know what? I want to do something a little different. So I took Dean hunting, antelope hunting for this doe with this Marlin, and we saw these antelope out there, and we went on way too long of a stalk for a doe antelope. It was like a 700-yard ordeal.
Yeah.
But we're sneaking around, and we come around the corner, and we jumped a big old grizzly bear out of the sagebrush. We're down just north of Matitsi.
Yeah.
And big old, and you should have seen him. He knew exactly what it was because he was walking and he jumped up in my arms and I'm like, look at Dean. And he's like looking at it. He's like, and he could see me. He's like, it's a grizzly. I'm like, yeah. Big old bear. And so, as we stalked these antelope and kind of the bear went this way and we looped around this way and he was pretty tight to my hip after that. And I carried him for a fair amount too, just because, a 4-year-old can't really be too articulate with his footwork, right?
Yeah. It's a fumble.
Yeah. And so I carried him for a fair amount, but long story short, we stalked up and I shot this antelope doe. As it went into this gully, I ran up and shot it at 35 yards with the 30-30. While Dean and my camera guy, Tim, was with me. They were just probably 50 yards behind me watching the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And, that was the best experience I can remember. And the first real hunt with my boy where he really was like into it and he was really paying attention. It's super cool.
That's so cool. It's amazing. And there's been some other hunts, like my wife and I both shot antelope last year, so not this past season, but the season before. And my dad a lot of times would come and then hang out with the boys in the pickup. And so like we shot antelope and then I'd call him and be like, hey, send him a waypoint. Like, I think you can get here, and then he'll drive there and then we'll hike the boys up. And so they've been around it a little bit, but yeah, this was the first time like, hey, we're leaving the pickup. We're going to go on a stalk together. And so that was just kind of cool to see that progression as well. It just makes it cooler with them there and they get so interested. And a couple nights ago, we pulled out some backstrap of my Wyoming bull, and Thomas, my 4-year-old's like, which elk is this, Dad? Like, which one is this? Is this Mommy's? He's like, this is Mommy's bull. And I was like, well, actually, this one is Wyoming. We haven't got Mommy's bull quite done yet. It's not ready to eat. But yeah, and they were with on that hunt. She drew a pretty crazy tag this year, one that and it was just one of those deals. Like, she never shot an elk. Like, she shot 4 or 5 deer with me, couple antelope now, never shot a gun before meeting me. And so, she hunts quite a bit with me, but not near as crazy about it as I am. And applied her for this tag, honestly, so she wouldn't draw, because we're like, well, the boys are still pretty young. Like, we'll wait a couple years and, maybe it'll be a little bit easier to have grandma watch them or something, right? So I was like, oh, I'll throw you in here. I think she had like 6 or 7 points and still incredibly low odds. And she drew it, and kind of, it was like one of those things. It would be easier to find a babysitter for them at the house and just go. But it's like, we didn't really want that, right? Like, we wanted them there. Yep. And so we kind of did the same thing. My dad came up in camp, and I brought my camper up there, and we were comfortable. We weren't really roughing it, but we were camping for the week, and he stayed with them in the camper, and we'd go out and hunt, which there was a couple mornings we were a little bit later than I wanted to be out there, because when we tiptoed out of the camper, everything was all good. But when the boys woke up, they did not want Mom to leave. Mm. And so there's a couple mornings that I'm like, all right, if that bull does the same thing he did yesterday, like, we got to get going.
We got to go.
And yeah, it just adds a different dynamic. But same thing, she shot a bull on the last day of the hunt, and her first elk ever, and I was able to call my dad and get service and be like, hey, again, send them a waypoint and be like, here's where I can meet you. And then met them, hiked both of them, carried both of them up to the elk, which I think was harder than packing the elk back down to the truck.
Right.
And yeah, it was just cool. And that's my phone lock screen photo, right, with the family behind Mom's bull, and it's cool. It just adds a whole nother level of, like, I don't know, memories to the experience, right?
Well, you want your kids to have the same meaningful experiences that you had. That's why it's on your phone. That's why it's a memory to you, and why the desire for you to want to involve them is because that was a big part of your childhood, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
that right there, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, no, it's cool stuff. It'll be interesting to see, if they both are into it as much as I am. And, it sounds like my brother's similar to yours, where it's like, we've got the bug. And my brother, too, like, he shot a way bigger whitetail than I've ever killed. He killed like a, I don't know, 165-inch whitetail or whatever. Just, he was out checking cows with my cousin or something, and big buck, and he killed it. Like, and he likes hunting. He enjoys it, but it's just different things for different folks is what really turns their crank. And that's great. It'll be I'll be curious with my two boys if they both have it. I kind of am starting to see a little bit of my 4-year-old will be very much like I am with it. And Caleb's personality is just a little bit more like easygoing, like, yeah, I'll go hunting, whatever. But that's obviously we've got quite a few years before I actually know that.
Right. A lot of development goes
Yeah.
on. I was kind of all over the place as a kid too. I mean, as far as, I was really into hunting, and we were lucky where we grew up, and we shot deer out of the house. We grew up in the country shooting whitetails out of the house, and so it was definitely a lifestyle. But as a kid, I was all over the place with sports, really into football, really into baseball, and I don't know how your childhood was as far as
same.
Yeah,
I mean, we lived in town, but it was a 5,000 person town, and
Yeah.
but same thing with sports, and like I hunted growing up. It was still important, but like
Yeah.
it was football season.
Yeah.
And I'm in high school. Like
Got a lot
I'm
of
gonna go
other things
hunting
to
when
do,
I
too.
can instead of
Yep.
prioritize it over other things.
Yep. Exactly. Well, we're gonna wrap her up.
Cool.
It's been a great conversation.
Yeah.
We'll. I want you to think about maybe the takeaway or maybe your final thoughts for this. I'll go first.
Okay.
But we talked a little bit from everything to adventure hunts to family and the importance and the nostalgic reasons why we hunt. A lot of good conversation today. And, for me, a takeaway would be is that you're never going to regret how many hunts you went on, and you're never going to regret the time that you spend with your family, your son, your daughter, your wife. So don't ever take that for granted. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and without copying exactly what you just said, like I've said it a number of times, even in this conversation, but find like what's important to you, and if you want it bad enough, like find the thing that you want bad enough to figure out how to go do, and then figure out a way to go do it as much as you can.
Yep.
Like if that's racing or snowmobiling or hunting or whatever, like, or going on family vacations to different countries and doing that, like find the thing that you want it bad enough and then do that as much as you possibly can. Because again, to kind of go full circle with some of these adventure hunts, I was so much under the impression that, once I go to Mexico and shoot a coos deer, like, check, done. But that's not, like, I want to do that again. And I want to find a bigger coos deer, and I want to do it again, and I want to do it again. So it's like, do it as much as you can and figure out ways to make that happen.
Absolutely. And the bug gets worse and worse.
I know.
You just want to keep hunting.
I know.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dylan Dawson from Onyx Hunt.
Thank you.
Good
Appreciate
to have you. Okay. So we should do a Onyx plug while I have you here.
Okay.
Because I know Onyx is sponsoring Eastman's Elevated moving forward in 2026. So we'll just do like a plug for Onyx.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm sure we'll use it somewhere.
Cool.
I don't know if Brian will put it in the intro or put it before, or maybe he can slap it in the middle or something. But so today's episode is brought to you by Onyx Hunt, and we have the one and only Dylan Dawson from Onyx here on Eastman's Elevated for a podcast. And so tell me a little bit, I guess, in the 30-second version of Onyx Hunt.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many hours do we have? Yeah, I mean, essentially, like, for anybody who doesn't know what it is, like, I'll just start with that, right? Because I get so intertwined into, like, new features and new things, and I oftentimes forget to just say, like, what it is. It's an app that turns your phone into a handheld GPS device that will give you private and public land boundaries. It'll show you who owns the private properties, where those boundaries are, where the public is, what the public access is. Is it state land? Is it BLM? Is it forest? Game management units? Like, there again, this could be a 2-hour-long conversation, right? As you know, but essentially, it turns your phone into a handheld GPS, shows you where you are at on that map in relation to those boundaries. So, if that wall in front of me is an imaginary, non-fenced, I'm on public land here and that's private land there, I know that by looking on my phone, right? I would say that's why 90+% of folks get Onyx Hunt, and most people probably know that. Outside of that, you get into like all the helpful tools and features on top of that, from LiDAR base maps to recent imagery to see where the snow line is or was 2 weeks ago, to, advanced like GPS tools like, remote waypoint ranging and all these other things that, again, we could spend so much time on. But it's a tool that helps you be more successful in the field at the end of the day.
Bottom line, yeah. If you haven't heard of Onyx Hunt and you're a public land DIY hunter, you have to get it. It's the original hunt map for phones. That's what I started with, and that's what I use the most. And it is the most streamlined. And like you said, the technology and the multitude of layers. And I mean, you can stay busy on that thing for hours to really get to know it. So if you haven't heard of Onyx Hunt, make sure you check them out. Go to the Play Store. You can download it. Get yourself a subscription, and you will utilize it if you're hunting public land ever, because it's this day and age, you can't afford to be on the wrong land.
Yeah, no, you really can't, and every state's different, and it's crazy, and it's one of those tools, and it's easy, right? I work for the company, so it's easy to say this and sound it like a sales pitch, but it's one of those tools. When I go hunting, if I forget my pair of gaiters, or if I forget this or that, like, I can still go hunting. If I forget my phone or forget to download maps, like, I'm turning around and find the nearest cell coverage to download maps, because I just can't hunt without it,
Yeah, absolutely. In the day and age of the broken boundary lines that we deal with out west, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So can't afford to not have it.
All right, guys. That's a wrap. Great podcast between Dan Pickar, Dylan Dawson over at OnX. Those guys are just great. They just changed the way that I hunt and scout. Love OnX, their system. So just a super job there. And thanks to those guys for their support of the podcast. And make sure to support Dylan, support OnX. And thanks to Dan Pickar for recording that when I was gone. So, great job, guys. I want to thank our sponsors for today's show, Zamberlan. Again, check out their website, ZamberlanUSA/Eastmans. Again, you put in the promo code Eastmans15. You can save 15% off those Guide Max GTR RRs, which are a great boot. So thanks to those guys. Thanks to On Glass. Thanks to you guys for listening in. That's the episode. And with that, we'll get Dan and I back together for Life of a Bowhunter podcast coming out here in 2 weeks. Actually, 1 week. This is a special episode, so it'll come out next week. This is a bonus for you guys. So thanks a bunch for listening in to the podcast, for the support, social media, everything we do. We sure appreciate it, and check in with you guys next week.